Welcome to another episode of the 5-Minute CIO series. Today we have with us Julian Martin, who is the APAC VP of Technology for NIIT Technologies. Welcome, Julian.
Thank you, Claire. Nice to see you today.
Yes, thanks for joining us. And I know that you're super busy and, taking time out of your schedule, we very much appreciate. Part of this series is just to find out a little bit more about how COVID-19 has impacted your business, what you as a leader, the Asia-Pac leader and the business is doing now to kind of keep the business working, moving forward. If there's any, real gold tips, please mention that to us. And I'm also interested if there's anything that you guys did that didn't work and you can recommend us not to try. We're also open to that at the moment as well. So you can take the floor.
No worries. Thank you, Claire. Look, I might start by saying I think where NIIT Technology started off really well is, and talking of leadership, is our CEO actually asked quite early in the piece for us to be ready on a Monday morning to kick off with people working from home. And this was quite early in the COVID-19 piece. So a lot of effort went into actually making sure people could work from home really quickly. And that was then managed quite closely as how many people were effective, how many people still needed little things, like it might be someone had always worked in the office on a desktop. And so they couldn't take their desktop home and they didn't have a laptop at home. So how do we sort them out? So there are little pieces like that, but we were very quickly effective because of that, what I would call, technical leadership from our CEO to say, this is coming, we better be ready. And then when it did come, especially, a lot of our resources are in India. When it did come and there was lockdown, they were already working from home. So it was already set up. Claire, one other thing that I'm finding is, as leaders, is making sure that our staff don't lose touch with us. And like what we're doing today with Zoom, and you can do it with Teams or with Skype, video conferencing is very important. We're making it mandatory that when we have a meeting, video is on and you are not on mute. And the reason for that is twofold. One is to make sure we can see you and you're getting that interaction. But two is also don't be on mute because we want you focused on what's going on. We don't want people turning away and thinking about something else. Now, of course, if it's background noise or something, we'll mute you. But in general, that's what we're doing. It's working really well. We're staying in touch.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. And if you don't mind me asking, through this, transition to remote working, did you have any tips on how you've been able to combat any sort of, employee panic? I was on a call with another CIO yesterday and, he's facing it's a much smaller business, but he's facing an issue where people are working remote and that's fine, but I think it's the time that they're spending on their own. There's a lot more panic that's happening and what's going to happen. And, you're just not sure about the security, whether it's their roles or, I think it's just in general, it's a thing that a lot of people are facing right now. Is anything like that happening in the business? And if so, what are you guys doing to combat that?
Look, not hearing about it, Claire, but what we are doing proactively is, and back on the video conferencing thing, is making sure that management and their team leaders are always checking in, making sure people are okay. What we don't want is people to be sitting at home, like you were saying, and be a little bit scared or afraid of what's going on, or afraid to ask questions, because sometimes people might go, I can't do this. Is that normal, or is there something wrong? So by having those regular check-ins, we're sort of getting the pulse of what's going on. We're not finding it too bad, but it is only early. So if we're still in lockdown for another 2 or 3 weeks, I know talking with my family, they're all getting a bit like, when can we go out again? And that's one of the challenges that we are seeing probably is, I was on a call the other day and there was a person from our company and in the background was a husband that works with another company and they were both in the same room. And it's like, how do we get past that? And, it was only a casual conversation, so it wasn't a big deal. But, that's the sort of thing that we got to think about. But I think the tech, from my point of view, it's really brought forward the fact that people in the past have probably been a little bit hesitant to fully invest on home working and remote working. Yeah, some companies were ahead of it. I know a company I used to work for, we put it in early, and the company I work for now made a real effort to make people ready. But I think that's going to change. I think from now on, there'll be a real thing. Can your call centre operate from home? You know, can they use their mobile phone for free, but plug into the call centre and take calls? That's going to happen. Everyone's going to have to be able to work from home. I think laptops are going to make a boom. I think desktops are going to be impacted severely because people are going to want to be able to pick up and walk out. And I think, network-wise, I think as 5G starts to take off, I think it's going to probably start to become a thing where almost everything is going to become connected via 5G. And I think, we're not there yet, but something like this could drive us to that point.
Fantastic. You mentioned a point there where you were speaking to a colleague and obviously your husband in the background, working for another business with that conflict there. It brought me to a point around security. How have you, as a business, obviously being a technology business, it's a lot easier, but, what precautions or additional precautions did you have to put in place, if any, to be able to make your team secure working from home?
Yeah, look, a lot of it was already in place because our business, Claire, is pretty much IT services for organisations. And generally when we first set up with them, the way we set up is to make sure that we meet or exceed their security requirements. So a lot of the people working on our accounts are already doing stuff remotely via technology that doesn't allow them to actually have anything physically on their device. It's actually all virtualized on their screen, and they do the work, but it's actually saved back in the data center of the client, or if it's in the cloud, saved back in the client's cloud effectively. So we've been very lucky in that way, and of course, local printing and that sort of stuff, local file saving, it's already turned off. I think there will be a challenge though, probably for our own client data, not client data, our own personal data, in that during this time, someone sends you a document that they're getting ready that they want to do on COVID-19 or whatever and present, and they might save that locally to their drive. And then in a year's time, we'll go, where was that flight? And it's like, oh, I saved it locally. So I think we are trying to make sure that people follow good practice in regards to, we're an Office 365 organisation. It's making sure that they don't save those things locally, they save them up into the OneDrive and making sure that everything's centralised. But from a client point of view, it's already in place, which is great.
Good, fantastic. Well, it's going to be interesting to see, with many businesses, both small, medium and large, as to, what happens over the next couple of months. And I might circle back to you back in a couple of months and see where you guys are at. I do think things are going to change quite significantly. And it could be from month to month, or it could be within 6 months' time. I definitely know from my experience as a business owner, having our own, getting our own teams remote and technology. I'm not an IT expert, but more from a business operational perspective, I definitely think there's going to be some changes with how businesses are run in general, but also new businesses coming through the market, being able to see gaps. For instance, you've just mentioned that gap of people getting a document and being able to save that, that there's definitely opportunities out there. And I don't think it's all just doom and gloom. I think, as I've mentioned, we're Australia's in a fortunate position where we are right now. And we've got to kind of keep on adapting to our environment. And that's the kind of positive message I've given my team, is just continue to adapt to the environment. And it's interesting when you do present positivity, the creative ideas that come up with how to pivot businesces is it wasn't there before. It's there now.
Yeah, Claire, if I could say, one of the things that we're seeing, we have a automation and BPO part of our business, and what we're seeing is it's brought a lot of stuff out of the cupboard that was done manually, and because it can't be done manually, and it now has to be automated. So we're getting a lot of conversations about, can we talk to you about a process that's now broken because we don't have people to do it, and how can we make it work? And I think you're going to see more of that moving forward. And the beauty is that'll enable people to do more value-adding jobs rather than, go back to a job that really wasn't, it was very basic and physical. get them to doing something that really adds value to an organisation.
Yeah, fantastic. Brilliant. If there was one sort of gold nugget you could pass on, what do you think that would be?
I think it's just being prepared. You never know what's coming. I think the biggest thing that COVID-19 has taught us is we were all happy, doing our own thing. The world is a perfect place. And then out of nowhere, we're in lockdown. And so I think this will make people start to think a lot more about risk and about always being ready for the unexpected.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you very much for joining us today. And like I said, we'll circle back around in a couple of months and see where you're at. And we'll look forward to chatting then.
Sounds great, Claire. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Cheers.
See you.